Hello, Virgo. Something is building. Can you feel it? That pressure in your chest, that restlessness in your body, that sense that time is moving differently lately, like you're being pulled toward something you can't quite see yet, but can definitely sense. Um, March 2026 is approaching, and I know that might sound like just another month on the calendar, but the energy surrounding it feels different, heavier, more significant. Like whatever's been brewing beneath the surface of your life is about to break through. And what you do between now and then, how aware you are, how prepared you are, that might determine whether you meet what's coming with strength or with chaos. Okay, so listen, I need you to really hear this. Not in a fear based way, not in a panic way, but in a pay attention because this matters way. There's an energetic threshold approaching as we move into March, a point where things that have been building, decisions that have been delayed, patterns that have been repeating, they might all converge. And if you're not conscious, if you're not awake to what's happening, you might get swept along by circumstances instead of actively shaping them. So let's explore this. What's building toward March? What you need to be aware of right now, today, this moment? What patterns you need to examine? What choices you need to start making? And how you can move into next month from a place of power instead of reaction. Take what resonates here. This is about empowerment, not prediction. You remain in control of your life, always. This is simply an invitation to wake up to what's already in motion around you. Let me start with what I'm picking up on most strongly. There's a sense of culmination in the air. Like March represents the end of a cycle that's been running for months, maybe longer. And endings, even necessary ones, even good ones, they can be intense. They require us to release what we've been holding, to let go of identities or situations or beliefs that no longer serve us. And that releasing, it's not always comfortable. Some of you have been in a holding pattern. You've been waiting, postponing, telling yourself not yet, staying in situations that feel safe even though they're slowly suffocating you. And March might be when that holding pattern becomes unsustainable, when life stops letting you stay comfortable in your discomfort, when the universe says, okay, time's up, we're moving now. And here's what you need to understand. You can meet that movement with resistance. You can fight against the ending of what needs to end. You can cling to what's dissolving. You can try to force things to stay the same, but that approach, it's exhausting, it's painful, and ultimately it doesn't work because when a cycle is complete, when something's time is done, no amount of holding on changes that. Or you can meet it with acceptance, with readiness, with trust that what's ending is making space for what's next. And that second approach, even though it requires courage, it's so much easier. It allows you to flow with what's happening instead of being dragged by it. Let me ask you something. What in your life feels like it's on its last legs? What relationship, situation, job, pattern, belief system feels like it's barely holding together? What are you sustaining through sheer force of will, even though everything in you knows it's done? Because I feel like whatever that is for you, March might bring it to a head, might create circumstances where you can't avoid looking at it anymore, where the truth becomes too obvious to ignore. And you'll have to choose, do I finally let this go? Or do I keep exhausting myself trying to keep it alive? Drop a comment if you already know what I'm talking about. If there's something specific in your life that's been limping along and you know it's almost over, because naming it takes away some of its power over you. You know what else I'm sensing? For some of you, March isn't about endings, it's about beginnings, but beginnings that can only happen if you make space for them. Beginnings that are trying to emerge but can't because you're too full, too cluttered, too committed to things that don't actually matter to you anymore. And this is where it gets tricky because we often know what needs to go. We know what's dead weight. We know what's draining us, but we're scared to release it, scared of the emptiness that might follow, scared of who we'd be without these familiar structures, scared of the unknown. But here's the truth: the unknown isn't as scary as living a life that slowly kills your spirit. The unknown isn't as painful as staying in situations that make you small. The unknown is actually where possibility lives, where new versions of yourself can emerge, where life can surprise you. Let me paint you a picture. It's early March. You wake up and something feels different. Not dramatically different, but subtly. Like the energy in your life has shifted, and you realize the thing you've been worried about, the thing you've been dreading letting go of, it's already gone, or it's clearly on its way out. And instead of the devastation you feared, you feel relief. You feel lighter. You feel like you can breathe more fully. That's what conscious transition can feel like when you stop fighting it, when you align with what's already happening, when you trust the process instead of resisting it. Now let's talk about what you need to be doing right now before March arrives, because preparation matters. The choices you make now, the awareness you cultivate now, that shapes how you'll experience what's coming. First, get honest with yourself, brutally honest about what's working and what's not, about what you actually want versus what you think you should want, about where you're living authentically versus where you're performing, about what brings you alive versus what's just familiar. Write it down if that helps. Speak it out loud to someone you trust. Just don't keep it vague and unexamined in your head. Because vague awareness doesn't lead to change. Specific clarity does. Second, start making small moves now. Don't wait for March to force your hand. If you know something needs to end, start the ending process. If you know a conversation needs to happen, initiate it. If you know a decision needs to be made, start gathering information. If you know you need support, start reaching out. Small actions now prevent crisis later. They give you agency. They let you be the author of your change instead of having change happen to you. Third, strengthen yourself, whatever that means for you. Maybe it's physical, getting more sleep, eating better, moving your body. Maybe it's emotional, going to therapy, journaling, processing old wounds. Maybe it's spiritual, meditation, prayer, time in nature, whatever connects you to something larger than yourself. Maybe it's practical, organizing your finances, creating backup plans, building support networks. You don't know exactly what March will bring, but you can make sure you're as resourced as possible to meet it. You can make sure you're not running on empty when life asks you to show up fully. Fourth, release what you can release now. Don't wait. If there are small things cluttering your life, your space, your schedule, your mind, let them go now. Practice releasing. Get comfortable with it. Because the more you practice letting go of small things, the easier it becomes to let go of big things when the time comes. Clean out your closet, delete old files, end subscriptions you don't use, say no to commitments that don't serve you, unfollow people who drain you, create space. Empty space is not nothing. Empty space is possibility. Empty space is where new things can grow. Um, Let me slow down here because I want to address something. Some of you might be thinking, this sounds scary, or I don't want things to end, or why can't things just stay the way they are? And I get it. Change is uncomfortable, even positive change, even necessary change, even change we initiated ourselves. But here's what I need you to understand: things are already changing, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you participate consciously or not. Life doesn't stop moving just because we want it to. Cycles don't pause just because we're not ready for the next phase. So your choice isn't between change and no change. Your choice is between conscious change and unconscious change, between being awake for your life or sleepwalking through it, between actively participating in your transformation or being dragged through it. Let me ask you another question. What would it look like to trust yourself through transition? To trust that you can handle uncertainty, to trust that you've navigated difficult things before and you can do it again, to trust that endings don't destroy you, they transform you. Because I feel like trust is the foundation here. Not trust that everything will be easy, but trust that you're capable, that you're resilient, that you have wisdom and strength you can access when you need them, that you're not alone even when you feel alone. That kind of trust, it changes everything. It lets you move through difficulty without collapsing under it. It lets you face uncertainty without being paralyzed by it. It lets you take risks because you know that even if things don't work out the way you hoped, you'll be okay. You know what else I'm picking up on? March might bring clarity about relationships, about who's actually with you versus who's just around you, about which connections are genuine versus which ones are based on convenience or habit or obligation. And that clarity might be uncomfortable. You might realize that people you thought were close actually aren't, that relationships you've invested in aren't reciprocal, that you've been carrying dynamics that others aren't carrying, that you've been more committed than the other person. But uncomfortable clarity is better than comfortable delusion, because once you see clearly, you can make real choices. You can stop investing energy where it's not valued. You can stop trying to maintain connections that aren't actually connecting. You can redirect your energy toward people and situations that are actually mutual. Let me share something with you. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is let go of people who aren't choosing you, not with bitterness, not with resentment, but with clarity, with recognition that you deserve reciprocity, that you deserve to be in relationships where you're valued, that you deserve to stop performing for people who aren't even watching. And March might be when that letting go becomes possible, when the attachment finally loosens, when you can release without destroying yourself in the process. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if March represents a liberation? What if what you're afraid of losing is actually what's been keeping you trapped? What if the ending you're resisting is actually the beginning of something better than you can currently imagine? Sometimes we hold on to the familiar even when it's hurting us, because At least we know what to expect. At least we know how to navigate it. The unknown feels more dangerous than the known pain, but that's often not true. Often, the unknown holds possibilities that the familiar never could. So, what if you approached March not with fear, but with curiosity? What if you asked, what's trying to emerge? What's trying to die so something else can live? What's the next version of my life trying to be born? Let me offer you something practical. Between now and March, create a ritual, something that helps you mark this transition. Maybe you write down what you're releasing and burn it. Maybe you create a vision board for what you want to call in. Maybe you spend time in meditation or prayer setting intentions. Maybe you have a meaningful conversation with someone who gets you. Whatever it is, make it intentional, make it conscious, because rituals help us process change. They give us a container for transformation. They mark the threshold between what was and what's coming. You know what else might be helpful? Document where you are right now. Write down how you're feeling, what you're dealing with, what you're hoping for, what you're afraid of. Take a photo. Save some texts or emails. Create a time capsule of this moment. Because months from now, when you look back, you'll want to remember. You'll want to see how far you've come, how much you've changed, how the things that felt impossible became possible, how you survived what you thought would break you. Let me ask you one final question. What would it look like to enter March with your eyes open, with your heart open, with your hands open, ready to receive what's coming and release what needs to go? With trust that whatever happens, you're being guided toward your highest good, even when you can't see the full path, because that's the invitation here. Not to control outcomes, not to prevent change, but to participate consciously, to show up awake, to meet life with presence instead of resistance. Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't, and remember that you remain in control of your awareness, of your responses, of your choices. March is coming whether you're ready or not. But you can choose to be ready. You can choose to be conscious. You can choose to navigate with intention instead of just reacting. This isn't about fear. This is about preparation, about recognizing that you're in a significant period of transition, about honoring that transition instead of fighting it, about trusting that what's meant for you won't miss you, and what's not meant for you can't be forced to stay. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you're stronger than you think. Trust that endings make space for beginnings. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be, even when it doesn't feel comfortable. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to look at what's real instead of what's comfortable. Thank you for choosing consciousness over denial. You're exactly where you need to be, on the threshold of March, on the edge of transformation, and you're going to be okay, better than okay. You're going to emerge from this stronger, clearer, more aligned with who you actually are. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, stay present, stay grounded, and don't ignore what your intuition is telling you. It's preparing you for what's coming. Listen to it.